Welcome back. So we are going to be going over how to make simple changes to Paging Poly using a management AI management app. So this is Anti-Gravity, the manager view, or it's basically the base Anti-Gravity now. You can have the IDE, and you can do this as a chat in the IDE. You could also do this in Claude Code, but it's the exact same process. Same with Codex, exact same process. So where we left off, we had our initial prompt that is from the Getting Started PDF, and we had hit go through, make sure that all of the necessary installs have happened. The npm install ran, it created us an installer, and here is where the installer is. It gives us a file link, and we are good to go, right? So now what happens if we want to make a change? So this is a really good thing that happened is that when I was doing paging paging poly only, is it did something weird with the logo. So I'm going to show you how to start the dev server. So there are two ways to access Paging Poly as an app, okay? The first one is doing the build, which there's a skill for, and that creates the installer you'll use. And then the second way is to do a dev server. The dev server is great if you are currently making changes and you want to make sure that those changes are working correctly before you build the installer, because there's no point in building the installer if it's not working correctly. It's an extra step. So what I'm going to do and see what's going on. Oh, this is interesting. Because I ran the command in a background developer environment sandbox, it launched behind the scenes. So, okay, so that does not work. And I wasn't sure about that, so that's fine, because we do actually have a background. So let's go back here. That's interesting that it won't do the dev, because it will for other types of applications. So I think that that's interesting. And that might not be the case in Claude. I'm just going to say that. That might not be the case in Claude, FYI. But very simple. So we can come to the folder, and we're going to find run dev.bat. Now, if you're on Mac, it would be the .sh, but these need to be executable first. So you would go to Anti-Gravity and say, hey, the .sh files, I want to be able to execute them. Can you go ahead and set that up via the command in the Getting Started? And it will do that, and then you can open them. For Windows people, you should just be able to hit open, and then it will open a terminal for you. Error launching app. Cannot find module. Interesting. And this says this. So this is what was dinging. Unable to find Electron app at. Okay, so we are going to, this is what I'm talking about. So we're going to come here. So that did open the app for me, but it came with an error. It's annoying that you can't copy these. Saying cannot, where is it? And then it disappears. Okay. Cannot find Electron app at the, and I'm just going to go paging only Electron dash app dash cannot find module, but it did open for me. Oh, it did open, and then where is it now? Oh, see, it is open. That's usually, oh, that's why it's showing as the Paging Poly, because the app is installed. So that might be why it's showing for me, actually. Come back. Could you please place? No, it just shows a comma after that path, and I can't copy paste it. Ah, there was a typo. So that's why. Okay, so I'm gonna close this, and I'm gonna come back over here, and you'll say press any key to continue because it already exited. And I'm actually curious, just curious, can you try running the run? Why is it still doing that? This is something that Claude does all the time too, is it won't let you actually like reference a file that you just added. I don't know what that glitch is, but it doesn't update very quickly sometimes. Just to see if that will actually open. Now there is no error. No, what did it call it? Typo. Because I just want to see if it will, or if I just need to remove that skill altogether. What about to find out? I ran it, the output logs look. The as mentioned, it won't show on your screen. Okay, so it's just basically saying no, like it just won't. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that isn't an anti-gravity thing. So you could try, and if not, then just use this. Or just to show, we also have the option you can come into VS Code. And is this okay? So this is this one. I have again, like there are two. You would go to Electron app again. All we did was right click, add an integrated terminal, and then here npm run dev. It'll do the exact same thing as the .bat, just FYI. And then it should just go ahead and launch from here. And it does, yay. Okay, so just FYI, you don't actually need the .bat. All it's doing is doing the npm run dev, but I know some people are really scared of the terminal, so that's why there is the skill, and that was why there was the other. But I'm gonna probably I'll leave that skill just because it can run the dev server to make sure that there's no errors, and then you can run it for real. So I'm just gonna leave that for now. But we have this gigantic logo, and that's an issue because that does not make things very easy to load. And you will see, I don't know why it's just spinning nonstop. That's something as well. And if we click in, this would be very much in the way. So one thing, toggle developer tools. You can do Control-Shift-I, and you might have to do this a couple times. And it's still not opening. There we go. I don't know why. Sometimes it takes multiple tries. And the easiest is from here versus the shortcut. This will tell you what is loaded currently, and it will come up with alerts. So I wouldn't worry about these alerts, by the way. Those usually are not an issue. It's the red stuff. So there would be a red X instead of the caution. Instead of yellow, it's in red. That's the stuff that you want to keep an eye out, and that's the stuff that you want to copy and paste back into anti-gravity. Again, I'm pretty sure Claude would actually be able to open the dev server for you and for it. It would probably be done in the preview instead. I can't guarantee this, but I would think so. So what we want to do is get this logo smaller. So I'm going to take a screenshot, and I'm going to open screenshots. And another guy. And I actually did this last night. I'm going to pull this over here so you don't need to see all of my screenshots of things that weren't working. Okay. And all I need to do is find, there we go. I just need to not show my other window. It doesn't need to see my other window. I have two monitors, which I would not be able to live without. And this is a good thing too, is that you can also do it so that it shows the developer tools if there is anything helpful, like an error. That can be also very useful. So I'm just going to close that. I'm going to drag it over. Great. So I'm going to say, hey, when we stripped the suite, so I'm explaining what I did before this error showed. When we stripped the suite, aka polydo, from this folder, the logo became massive, as you can see. Can you make that a normal size, please? And because we have dev open, this change should hot load. So we don't need to like stop the dev server and restart. Sometimes you will. It depends on where the change has to be made. And usually it's good about saying like, hey, you need to restart the server. Claude is even better at this because again, like I've been working with Claude code a lot more than Antigravity because I'm doing a Descript alternative. And on that one, it shows the preview for apps and like it does a lot of that stuff. But that is a different project and it's not an Electron app. But so it's analyzing a whole bunch of stuff to try and figure out what's going on. Now, I'm going to give you a quick warning about anti-gravity really quickly, is I have noticed that every once in a while, anti-gravity will get locked in this type of loop, and it will just keep looking at files into infinity if you do not stop it. So while I feel comfortable usually leaving Claude Code to just like do its little dance while I go do something else or even take a walk, I do not feel comfortable doing that with anti-gravity, just a heads up. And I would also say, I haven't seen that with Codex, and I have done the Pro Codex plan before as well. So just FYI, I do not leave anti-gravity unwatched because it will do that for like until all of your use is gone, basically. So it found the issue. So if we come back to Poly, boom, he's right where he belongs again. Wonderful, lovely. Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to pause and I am going to, well, no, we're going to keep going here. So now that was very small. That was a very small thing. But JJ was very nice and gave us an idea for something that's actually really useful for Paging Poly, because I was like, I am so far out of this. I have no idea what a feature ad would be that's like small that I could just show you guys. So let's see, I've never said this before, but maybe we'll get a tiny little error that we can fix as well so that I can actually show you like a real error. Okay, so I'm going to come here. Thank you. That fixed it. Next up, I would love a little button in the editor that clears the formatting from the document. So it is all plain text. Can you add that, please? This is simple, by the way. I'm going to say this. This is a very teensy little change. So I would not create a plan for this. Usually you wouldn't need a plan for something like this. But if you're doing a larger feature ad, like maybe this was something that was actually on the roadmap. Maybe you want to be able to take like paragraphs and just drag them in the split view. Like that's something that you could add, right? So that's something. Or I'm trying to even think of literally anything other than that. Or maybe you want to add, I don't even remember. This is, okay, so we have OpenAI, OpenRouter, and LM Studio. But maybe you want to add Ollama. Maybe you want to add Claude or, Anthropic APIs, something like that. That's something that I would have it plan first. So really quickly, this is very small, so I want to do a plan. But, oh, and this is weird. So this is one plan. Is that, no. So in anti-gravity, there is no plan. In Claude and in Codex, and I'll open Codex here too. Auto, there is a plan mode right here. And honestly, also weirdly, is in Anti-Gravity IDE, there is a plan in that chat. So I don't know. I guess you would just ask it to plan first. I don't like how Anti-Gravity handles plans either. If you're wondering why I have so many qualms with Anti-Gravity, but I'm using it, it's because I got 3 months for $1.99. And that's the only reason. So this has approve only. I know that there was plan mode. See, for GPT, there's also a plan mode. So I don't know where they put that in the manager mode. So I guess you would just ask it to plan. I know, like, usually if it's a big thing, like, it will just plan whether you want it to or not. Goal, schedule, browser. Yeah. So, I'm gonna remove that extra dash so that it doesn't get confused. But anti-gravity evidently does not have a plan mode. The other option that I do a lot, especially to like save on tokens, is I have Abacus. So I would do the plan for the feature in Abacus and then copy that plan over and say, hey, this is the feature that I want to add. Review this plan, ask me any follow-up questions you need to, and then let's get to work, basically is how I would do it. Or I'd even like copy the plan into a markdown file, and you can actually see some of those because I left some of those as little treats for you guys under docs. So in the main folder, if you look at docs, this shows what the plan was for the cloud backup, which I think is completely implemented, except for collaborative sync. We didn't do collaborative sync. So that's left in. S3 backups was also left in. Series project plan of what I was planning to do with the series. You could adapt this. The versioning setup, the versioning should also be completely implemented, but I left these in so that you can kind of see what kind of plans I was making prior. And these were all, done usually with Abacus. So that I would save these under docs, and that's where I would put them if I were you too. If there was a feature ad that you were working on, I'd drop them in there. So just a quick aside on planning. But if it's something small, like add a button to clear formatting is a pretty small change, then you really don't need a plan. You can just say, hey, can you do this? So we're going to go ahead and do that. I should have hit that and then gone on my diatribe, but c'est la vie. Okay. So it's going to go ahead and look. And again, I'm not going to leave this unattended because generally speaking, that is not right. So the other thing that I don't know if anybody at all is interested in, but the Electron decision is one that I don't necessarily, I wouldn't do again. If I were doing this from scratch with everything I know now, I would probably do a very different setup. And I definitely wouldn't have tried to launch it for Mac and Windows at the same time. Okay, so this says when you select formatted text in the editor and click the new eraser clear formatting button, it will instantly remove all headings, listing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's see if it did it. So I'm going to come back into a test project. And where did you add this? That would be a great question. Eraser. Oh, there's an eraser. Oh, of course, I select text that has no formatting already. Okay, this has some formatting and some bullets. So I'm gonna just do Control A, clear formatting. Bing, bada, boom! So that's done. Okay, so that's how you make a change. We didn't get an error. No such luck. What can I say? I'm gonna Apple Z that really quickly. Save. Where are we? There we go. But if there were an error, it would load right here, and then you would just copy and paste it into the editor. I'm sorry. I thought maybe we'd get an error and we'd get lucky. Honestly, that's something else I'll say is that the process that I was going through, y'all, is not what you're going to be experiencing doing updates and feature changes for yourself. The landscape and the speed at which these things are getting better is absolutely astronomical, and the largest area for that is coding. So I know some writers may be thinking, hey, it almost seems like the models are getting worse in some ways. That is specifically, and I've seen that too, that is specifically for pros, because that is not the main thing that they're working on. You have to understand that these models, the first thing that they started working on that they wanted the models to be good at was coding, so that it could code itself. So coding is by far one of the things that has come the farthest with any of the models. So that's just something to take into consideration. The stuff that I was going through and the type of debugging that I was having to do when people were like, will you teach a class on this? I'm like, I don't know how to teach debugging, was completely different. And I'm really not coming across those issues now. And I will say both Codex and Claude, if you're working with an app that they can run the dev server for you and you can see and they can see, then they catch a lot of stuff for you because they can actually interact with the application and do a lot of tests themselves. So that's just something else as a head up that I would say that isn't necessarily something that anti-gravity can do. And actually my setting, my usage reset, and I'm actually going to see just really quickly in Claude, I'm going to do a new session, public I'm going to open folder and I'm going to see if it will actually do the dev server or if anti-gravity was correct. So we're on Sonnet Low. I just want to see, can you open the dev server for me in preview so that you can see errors just like me. And before I do that, I'm going to close this and I'm going to, that seemed to be double open. And I'm just going to do a couple of Control C's. Control C in the terminal doesn't, it will copy, but it will also essentially like quit whatever process is going. So I had already closed, so this already finished, and you can see the backup created 16 project backup. But just an FYI, if you need to like force stop something, you can do a Control C in the terminal. So I'm just going to see if Claude can do that, or if anti-gravity's comment was actually accurate. Because Claude does have a different setup for that, so we'll see if it can do better than Gemini. Oh, I should have referenced the skill. I didn't think about it. If it takes like more than 2 seconds, I'll just stop it. And Byte alone runs the render in a played web server, good enough for me to preview in a browser. Let me set up the launcher and start it. Runs in. This says accept edits, which is why it asked me instead of just edit. See, this is the issue, so there isn't a backend server for the local host. So anti-gravity might have actually been right in this case. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so that did open. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and make changes. I'm just going to double check. Okay. So in preview, that is the local host, which isn't connected to the backend or database. But your command did also open the application window, like if I ran the command. Can you see the application window errors or not? The design is already locked, so the local host web view isn't really useful. Let's just see. I'll cut this out if not. No, I can't actually see. Okay. What I did, blah, blah, blah. What I can't do. Okay, so it connects to Chrome DevTools. So even if I ran that, which opens the real one, I would not get a screenshot console or DOM. Okay. What I can do, run the services renderer. Okay. So it can do Electron Dev and pull some errors, but it still can't do what I was hoping it could do. So, all right. So Claude is no better in that regard. This is good for when you're working on just the design. But as you can see, it says create project versus over here, there's a whole bunch of projects. So this doesn't work as soon as you need to like test something like in actuality, like something in the editor, for instance. So Claude isn't going to be any better for that. But we learn together. Okay, so that is all for this. And you're really good to get going and get started. And if you did want to set up GitHub for your project, there was, again, in the getting started, there was the steps to do that. So you download and install Git, create a GitHub account, log into your GitHub on your computer, and you do that via the terminal. But you can, by all means, ask the AI agent to help you. And if you give it the username and some of your details, then it will also help you log in. But it just depends on what you're comfortable giving the AI agent and what you are not. The key thing that I will say, when you create a GitHub account and then you want to create a GitHub repo, which actually I can show you really quickly. I think this is still like, I haven't actually added anything to this yet. So this is what it will look like in GitHub when you've created a repository. You create a repository from right here. And you name it, you give it a description, and this is the key thing, public. Public means anybody can view this, which would actually not be in agreement to using it as personal use, because you'd be exposing Paging Poly, which is our intellectual property, to the whole World Wide Web. And if you choose to have it back up your database to the same GitHub, which you could do, it would also expose whatever you're working on. So I doubt either of those things would be ideal for any of us. So you want to choose private so that only you can see it. What this does is if you make a change, like maybe we made the eraser change, and what we didn't realize after testing is that the eraser works great to clear formatting, but it also broke the AI connection. That's a totally practically impossible thing to do, but I'm just trying to give you an example. Is you could roll it back. So you can roll back to a previous version. You haven't lost any work. And that is what GitHub is for, is it's backups. And you could actually have the application, so your feature changes on a private, and then you could have a separate private for your actual writing projects that you could set up. That's something that you can talk to your AI about, but both of those are options. But just make sure that that is private to stay compliant with the license that you're agreeing to with the Paging Poly source code. Okay. All right, that's it. And now you are ready to get going and use Paging Poly without having to worry about any licensing. And really quickly, just to show you that as well, if you look at settings, there is no longer any license because this is a source code. You has it forever and ever and ever. It can never be taken away from you. So there is no more licensing. There's also no more updates. So every once in a while, just ask your AI, like, hey, is there anything that needs to be updated because of a major security risk or something like that for my use case, and just explain it. It's a personal use case, what you do on it, etc. And it will let you know. All right, thank you. And I will see you in the next one. Or if you purchase the extra videos, we might be going deeper on certain skills. Okay, bye.